All right. All right. Yeah, gotta go live on Restream when we can, when I set the time. So can't really lack.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we're
no, for
getting
sure, man.
getting the rest of our guys in here. Josh and Chris hopefully will be here momentarily. But as you can see on the screen, this is the Running with WARR WNBA season preview. Thank you guys for joining us. Of course, thank uh, the guys on the screen for joining us. But all of you out there who watch this video, we definitely appreciate you and listen to the show with regularity. Listen and watch with regularity. We appreciate you guys, and we're glad to bring this sort of special event here tonight. We did our regular show for the week on Tuesday, talking NBA and stuff, but we're gonna talk just about the WNBA in this show here tonight, and with good reason. The league celebrating its there you go, throw up the W, Chris. The league celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. Certainly a milestone for the league, and we're gonna talk about it in a little while. Like arguably its biggest season ever. When you look at all the things that are going on for the league, the storylines, the stars, the exposure. There's a lot that's going on with the league, and it's gonna be really fun. But especially here in Chicago, we're going to actually have a chance to indulge in a lot of the fun as well. It seems like because there's going to be a competitive team here. There's a legitimate star, arguably icon the sport in Candace Parker, who's setting up shop here now. A Chicagoland area native, and just so much that's going on with the Sky alone makes it a great topic of discussion. So we're always glad week in and week out to talk about the Sky on Running with WARR. But this week we're going to do it in depth, and we're doing it with two of the best people to do it. In I don't know what happened to Josh Dale, if he'll return soon, but two of the best guys to talk about the Chicago Sky and the WNBA in general, and that is our regular runner, Chris Pennant, and his road dog from the Skyhook podcast, James K. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Hey, thanks for having us back. This is, Chris and I have been doing this one every week now over the last couple of weeks, and, it's just good to be back talking about the Chicago Sky.
Certainly. Chris, man, we didn't have you talk. You weren't with us on Tuesday, but glad to have you back for this show, and glad you got James to join us as well. But let's just start off, real simple with the as people who follow Sky should probably know by now, they had their media day today, and all the people from throughout the team talked to the media through Zoom and everything, as well as James Wade, the coach and general manager. And you guys got to see a lot of it. What were your thoughts on what happened today and how the team, the questions that they were fielded and, how they responded and everything? What did you think about today?
With Diamond was first up, and that was very obviously there were a lot of things that people wanted to ask her. It wasn't James, it wasn't you, but and it wasn't Eric Wilson or Brandon Pope either, but there was a dude who asked her about her PS5, how she let go of her PS5.
That was me.
Was you?
Yeah.
That was you, my bad. Okay, I won't spoil that because that was fantastic. I didn't even know she gamed like that.
Yeah. But she just gave it out for free.
Oh man, I saw. That's right. You did post that, and I should have gone in because I want to get The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. Highly recommend both of those.
There was palpable excitement, and I think there were a lot of people on from a lot of different places Ruthie Hubbard had a reporter coming in from Fairbanks, Alaska. They had, was it Cosmas Sarti? We had a man in from Italy. He was on. And there was just so, and as well as the stalwarts, James, myself, Cheryl Ray Stout from the BEZ, Annie Costabile from the Sun-Times, Eric Wilson, who was on a lot of the post games and pre games last year out of Florida, and Brandon Pope, our guy Brandon Pope from WCIU. So it's just a lot of tangible, palpable excitement. And I couldn't get up with everybody, but I know that on the player side, they understand it. And they're you can tell they're trying to minimize the hype, minimize the those expectations, because I think it's within the team too. They see everything, they've heard everything, they know what Candace Parker brings. They understand that there's a lot of national TV games than there were in the past, but the teams that they've had the past 2 years. So a lot of what I think the answers were centered around was just really like, the season hasn't started yet. Courtney Vandersloot specifically said, it's like, everybody's talking about championship. We do everything right, the championship will take care of itself. And that was an incredible statement.
Chris, right quick, because the Sky do start the season as we're going to talk about certain power rankings and the certain surveys and everything across the league of people who thinking about the favorites and stuff in the league, and the Sky are being considered one of the favorites in the league. They're also being sort of put up front as a team, a showcase team, possibly, when you look at the fact that the season is going to start off this Saturday on ABC, and they're going to be in the initial game that's broadcast against Washington. I was just, from your point of view in observing, what do you think? Do you think that the team is handling or dealing with the hype strictly amongst them as it comes for themselves as a team and their championship possibly aspirations, or are they also juggling hype in regards to the league as a whole and the league being more exposed this year and more like I say, just more exposure, more everything this year with your WNBA?
It's both. Honestly, it's both. I think it's going to cause some dissonance with the players, with the fans, with the media, as the exposure grows, as more people get involved, as more sponsorships come in. You're going to get more rigidity, I think, and you're also going to have a certain level of scrutiny of players and of teams that they might not necessarily have been used to. But they're definitely managing hype nationally. They're managing notoriety nationally because, it's Candace Parker. We talked about it previously, and we all know, we're all Chicago people. We know what kind of player she is and what she meant to the city and the basketball when she was here. So bringing Candace Parker into your team not only has the added exposure factor of her being from Naperville and being a Chicago person. You saw she tweeted about the Bears getting Justin Fields, so she's still rocking with the monsters of the Midway. But she is a
put up that 3-3-0, Josh.
She's a superstar, man. She's a superstar in this league. And you get somebody like that who, the way we talk about basketball and the MNBA, right? Premier position, small forward. She is a small forward, power forward, center. She can play all three of those positions. She handles like a guard, and she passes out of the post almost as well as Jokic does. So that is going to take pressure off Courtney Vandersloot and even Kalia Copper to create. They can play off the ball when they need to. They can put Courtney Vandersloot on the ball and put Candace to work back to basket in the post. They have so many weapons now, but they got to put it together. So the hype is definitely coming from outside as well as just the local media. There's more people. There's more local media than there's been in a long time. When I started out in 2014, 15, and I was out at Wintrust, the most consistent people there were me and Patricia Babcock McGraw at the Daily Herald. And then when the playoffs came around, Jim Rose was there from ABC, and a few more people came out. But there was like 2 people there consistently. Now you got 20 voices on the media calls, and you got to cut it short for time.
That's something, man. James, that I know there's a documentary that's coming out tonight. I guess in a few minutes, actually, on ESPN, called 144. That's taking everyone into the wubble from last summer, and I think a lot of the big, from the way that film is being advertised and everything, is doing a lot to show people the shared experience of the women, as women and athletes who happen to be women, and it's going to take people into their conversations and everything about the sacrifices that they make as women and as Black women in the large majority, and the certain things that they have to deal with in regards to social justice and everything, in response to so much that happened in the world outside of that wubble last summer. What are your take on how the league is carrying its role as a social justice, as a main social justice platform in professional sports in America, and what do you think that's going to mean for the league, as it unfolds this new year?
I think the more I'm trying to think the way I want to phrase this. I think that people are starting to realize that you can't really untangle sports and the sociological impact it has on our society. And we've seen that more and more each year, I feel like. And we especially saw it last summer when we saw the WNBA lead the charge with, if you look at Raphael Warnock last year, how the WNBA rallied behind him, and you saw how much money they were able to raise for his campaign. And, we saw how that ended up going with taking down Kelly Loeffler, who just has said some despicable things, over those during the wubble. I think that it's really interesting to see how. Actually, you got to look back even farther than just this past season. They led the charge with Trayvon Martin. The media started to pay attention to what the Heat were doing when I forget exactly what the exact T-shirts they wore that got a bunch of publicity, but the WNBA was the one that actually started out talking about the that horrible incident with Trayvon Martin. And again, it's also it's such a pleasure to be able to cover this league because they do care so much about this. They're just so outspoken, use their platforms to do right by the people who need help and need to have their voices elevated. Maya Moore, talk about someone like a 4-time champion who could continue to go and try to win championships for the Lynx. She stepped aside to try to free someone who was she stepped up for, actually now it's her husband now, but she stepped up for someone who was imprisoned, wrongfully imprisoned. And you see the same thing with Natasha Cloud on the Mystics, who also stepped away for a year to focus on fighting social injustice. It's just a consistent theme you see across the W, and it's something that I think a lot of professional sport leagues have picked up on since the W has been so successful with it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, one of the more admirable things about the league. It really, you really got to give it to the W and its players for the role that they played in advancing certain discussions and advancing certain activities and actions. And they've really made, starting with the NBA, their brothers in the NBA step up in certain ways to utilize their platform, to share their shared platforms and their own platform. It's interesting. Looking at a clip from that 144 documentary last night, on ESPN, they had a particular clip of regard where they had the ladies discussing things right after the shooting in Milwaukee, and how they were going to act going forward. And Sue Bird was speaking to a collection of the players, and she said she said made a statement in particular about how they had to separate themselves in a way from the NBA, and they have to recognize that they can't follow the NBA's moves, and they can't move in conjunction with them all the time. They have to make their own moves, make their own stances and everything. And I really admired that statement that she gave it, because it's like it shows the leadership is there for that league, and it shows just how strong and how they have their own authorship as players and as people. They really they're not beholden to anybody in what they're saying. And I'm really excited to see where they continue to go along those lines. What do you guys think in regards to the Sky themselves and that as a team? Who do you see as the leaders in that regard, in regards to being representatives in the community as well as being great athletes and stuff on the court?
Well, after Gabby Williams left I think we'll probably get into it later. I think Diamond DeShields is probably the one leading the charge now. She's someone that has, throughout the offseason, as she's gone through rehab to get back to 100%. One of the things that we know now is that she is 100% healthy and is unrestricted, which I think all of Skytown is thrilled about. But to go back to the social justice element of this, sorry, I had to get out of FaceTime there. She's someone that spent the offseason going around talking about these issues and continuing to push forward when I don't know how I want to phrase this necessarily, but like when the climate for social justice cooled off a little bit, she was still pushing the needle. And I think we learn most about athletes and what they care about and what they want to use their platform for when, again, the climate cools off a little bit. And she's someone that does lead the charge, but that entire organization is very dedicated to social justice. We haven't really heard much about it, Chris. I don't know if it came up in media day after I had to leave, but they did have last season they led the charge with Sky Takes Action, which raised a ton of money for individual charities and parts of the community that needed it in Chicago. So, but yeah, I would say Diamond DeShields, just to put it in a nutshell. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, it's tough. I was thinking the same thing, because with Gabby leaving, she was really at the forefront on that. You could tell that she was talking it up in post game interviews. I think she had that shirt that said "Women don't owe you shit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving was wearing that the other day, I believe.
And she's just, one, she's passionate. Two, she's on the fashion tip, like Stephanie Dolson is too. And but it is hard to, I think, it's hard to think of anybody, not necessarily because they're not invested in it, but other than Diamond being like really okay, being out there, maybe dividing focus, so to speak. I don't know. It's tough to say, because she doesn't always feel like she has to be forthcoming. So she's not. I think today was the most I've heard Diamond speak and get really like loose, even in the interviews, just talking about what she feels that she can do for the season. And there was a good question, I think, that Brandon Pope might have asked about how COVID shifted her perspective. And she was talking about how she focused more on mental health and what was good for her. And I think part of getting rid of the PS5 was part of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Diamond is more outspoken on those things. But honestly, I think you could see it from Diamond. And even though Steph
Yeah.
is conscious about what her role is as a white player, I think she is one of the people who wouldn't be averse to standing up and saying, these things, because she's just that gregarious kind of person, and she understands what's right and what's wrong. So as a veteran on the team, I wouldn't be surprised to see that from Steph either.
Yeah,
I like Steph. I like following her on social media, and she does seem like a person who is on the right side of issues, and even like expanding out to like body consciousness and stuff like that. She's she represents herself and athletes well, in a lot of different ways. So I admire that. Beyond her play, it gives you something really to rally with these players as individuals, even whether you have your team connection or not. And I'm gonna bring up Gabby,
mm-hmm.
Since you guys brought her up, I think that was definitely the case with her too. Like you could see, she was definitely vocal, and there's quite a few interviews and stuff that are available on different platforms and YouTube and stuff where she speaks her mind on things, and she was really drawing like you say, drawing a certain amount of attention and representing the team and herself. And it's unfortunate that so much broke down with them with her and the team, and she eventually gets shipped out to LA. And there's been like a couple comments in the wake of the deal where she sort of was like, she is a West Coast girl, I guess from Nevada, I guess originally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess maybe she in a lot of ways wanted to get back out that way, but it seemed like she was sort of sort of in some ways manufacturing this. I don't know if you guys can tell me I'm wrong if I am, but what do you got? Let's just start off in the wake of this deal. What do you guys think about what happened and how it happened, and what do you think? What impact, if any, do you think is going to have, at least in the near future, for the Sky?
I really don't think this is going to have that much of an impact on the Sky's season. It's not even today. Everyone seemed like they were in such a great mood and just really focused on the season. But with the Gabby Williams situation, it's just so complicated. I think it's honestly just a classic situation where two parties didn't communicate well with each other. And Gabby had goals that weren't necessarily going to line up with what James Wade wanted to do in Chicago when training camp opened, and it became that simple. Look, the Sky only have 4 players signed through 2022 now after trading for Stephanie Watts in the Gabby Williams deal. And, Candace Parker's 35. Allie Quigley turns 35 this year. Courtney Vandersloot's 32 years old, and she played over 30 minutes a game last season. I mean, you got to think about how you're going to preserve these players and how you're going to maximize their, all-world talent over the next couple of years. So the time to win is now. And with Gabby on a expiring deal, even though it was restricted, the Sky had some cap issues to deal with. And it's unfortunate. James Wade said that he didn't want to trade Gabby Williams, but and I think they do value her, and they did value her when she was on the team. But at the end of the day, Gabby needed to be in training camp. At least that's in the mind of James Wade. He felt that way in order to get the most out of his team this year. And, I think that she was only given like 2 weeks before the draft to hear about Gabby's perspective on this. So I think he drew a lot of criticism for kind of pushing this or not really talking about the situation until it was finalized. And Chris and I talked about this, just how we felt. I mean, at least I felt it was a little bit unfair how that all went down and how people publicly criticized James Wade when it was just kind of a situation that I felt they suspended her contract, which means that she can't play for this season. She can't play this year, and she loses the $70,000 that were attached to her contract, a part of her contract. So people were upset about that, but I also feel that if the other 11 GMs in this league were in a similar situation, they do it 10 times out of 10. So it's a complicated situation. It's tough to lose a fan favorite, but you kind of have to deal with the reality of Gabby wasn't going to be getting a ton of minutes for this team anyway. With Shyla Heal coming into town, she's the Sky's first-round pick from this year, and she was going to occupy the minutes that Gabby was playing at playing the backup point guard position. So it was just going to be hard for Gabby to carve out a role with this team, even if she did want to be on the team this year. But yeah, I mean, Chris, I feel like we kind of felt the same way about when we talked about with Miles the other day.
Yeah, I was just gonna say what you and Miles both said about, because we've talked about how I'm always I'm wondering how James Wade's drafting and player management, personnel management is going to look with the benefit of hindsight. And so far, it's been so far so good. He still has to get outside of that window where the main players on the team were drafted prior to him coming here or were acquired prior to him coming to Chicago. But you both put it in perspective very well for me, especially as more of the story came out. And Gabby's, like, I love Gabby, but I don't think she ever really wanted to be the backup point guard or hold that role as much or as long as she did. And it was just something that she was able to do and had the skill set to do and just the size to do, but it wasn't something that she was ever comfortable with. And so, like I said, in LA, she won't really have to run the second unit, I don't believe. And Kyle, you're exactly right. She'd be a lot closer to home in Reno. So it's something that I think in the long run will work out for both parties. It just sucks for, I think, the team. She posted on Instagram how she's going to miss the team a lot. And the fans loved Gabby. Fans absolutely loved Gabby. So the group, the core group, personally, I think both sides are gonna miss what they built. But it's business, like Avon Barksdale says, it's just business.
Right. Yeah, stop. You can't play them away games either. Those are definitely the quotes that you get. The most significant quotes from Avon Barksdale. Don't play them away games. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna miss Gabby too. I think she's a very talented player. She has that UConn pedigree, and she has some games really like really last year. I know she was with the team for a couple of years, but last year was really when I started to notice her. Starting from that opening game where she sort of lit up the school, lit up the stat sheet, and she just really multifaceted, can do a lot, with the ball, and it'd been nice to have seen her continue with the team. But like you say, it was going to be hard for her to get minutes, and there's a lot of talent on this team. We're going to go more over the roster in a minute, and again, it's good for her. It's sort of like a delay. It's sort of like an addendum to the trade, or I guess how sometimes you get a player from a team and then you make a deal with the team, and with us getting Candace, it's sort of like an addendum to that, So, and it's good for her, being on another high-profile team, and she'll have a chance to compete there. But let's go back into the team, the players who are still here, of course, and we mentioned the rookie Shyla, and there was some stuff that come out with her today. Can you guys explain that story about how at one point she seemed to have been off or not eligible or something, and then that changed? What was that about?
Yeah, Shyla Heal has been dealing with problems with her visa over the last couple of weeks, and the Sky haven't gone into too much detail about it. I mean, they didn't really need to. She just was having a hard time getting over here. I know that she's been anxious to get here. I mean, she's been posting about videos of her shooting, doing catch and shoot threes, and the Sky need her. I mean, a rookie coming into this league, it's already tough going right from college. I mean, not in her case, but it's hard. Like for the most part, a rookie coming in from college, and then like a week later they're playing in the WNBA training camp. Shyla Heal does not get a WNBA training camp in a rookie year, and I think that's something to be monitoring as we approach the start of the season in a couple of days. That is something that I'm a little bit worried about, because the thing is, it's not like they have a Gabby Williams who's been running the offense for the second unit over the last 2 years. They are relying on the 10th overall pick, Stephanie Watts, now to run that second unit, and she also just arrived because of the Gabby Williams trade that happened just less than a week ago now. So she also didn't have a training camp, and now this team is going to be opening up the season having relying on 2 rookie guards that haven't been in the system yet. So it's a really interesting case. I'm in terms of Shyla, though, I'm a little bit higher on her than I think a lot of other people are. She's, in case you guys didn't know, she's someone that's been playing professional basketball since she was 14 years old in Australia.
She's been in the equivalent. Cause it is interesting because just in the NBA, just recently, we just had a couple players who came from the Australian Pro League, R.J. Hampton and LaMelo Ball. They played over there last year, and she played in the WNBA equivalent of that over there. So Shyla Neal had so she's played pro ball for a while. But what age specifically did she start?
14.
And she's 19 now, right?
Yeah.
So it's been 5 years in the pros.
Yeah, that's something.
And she's played
her
against.
Dad got into it with Charles Barkley back in '92. So it's funny.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, she's someone that's also played against WNBA players. I mean, Liz Cambage is one of the people that she's gone up against in the last year. Leilani Mitchell, they both play on the same team. So honestly, I think a lot of people were criticizing the pick at the time because Dana Evans and Arella Garantes were both available at the time. And people were like, okay, the Sky finally, I mean, they have their point guard, and then they end up drafting 19-year-old 5'6" point guard Shyla Heal. People were kind of hating on the pick, but if you just consider, again, like the Sky needs a rookie to come in right away. They were throughout the draft process, they were telling each prospect, look, if we draft you, you're going to be the backup point guard. We need you for 10 minutes a game to come in for Courtney Vandersloot and just make sure the ship doesn't completely sink like it did last year. One of the most glaring weaknesses on this team was that backup point guard position, where when Courtney Vandersloot was on the floor, the team's offensive rating was 9.3, but when she was taken off of the court, it plummeted to 18.7 or negative 18.7. So it's a difference of over 27 there. And, that's a problematic for a team that wants to contend right now and needs to contend right now. They're depending on Shyla Heal to come over. Again, she's actually flying to Chicago tonight, and hopefully she'll be ready. They actually temporarily suspended her contract. She'll be back. She'll be here soon, but I do think the Sky were anticipating her being in Chicago earlier than just tonight.
So I guess she'll be available for Saturday's game, but she won't likely play, I guess, given the situation.
I cannot imagine her playing. Again, I do think that Stephanie Watts, who was drafted 2 picks after her, then ended up in Chicago. I do think that she's probably the most. She's probably going to play the most, and maybe I hope they don't do this, but they could also push Courtney Vandersloot a little bit more and maybe use Candace Parker more as a secondary facilitator in that offense in the opener, instead of just throwing Stephanie Watts into the fire, because that she didn't play that much against the Fever in that second preseason game. So that's a big question mark for sure.
We'll break down the roster some more in a bit. But Josh, glad you were able to come back in, man. Just want to get your thoughts right quick on. You were in with the sessions too, with the media sessions today for media day. You want to give your thoughts on how everything went from your point of view?
Yeah, I think everything went as what you would want a contender to expect, right? Pretty much the talk of championships, and more specifically, the talk of gaining the chemistry and building the chemistry with this new roster to prepare for a title run and improving on an everyday basis. That's the common theme that you heard throughout every last one of those WNBA players on that team, as well as the facts. And you got the fun people like Stephanie Dolson with her makeup and her hair all dolled out. You talked about that Diamond DeShields talking about how much anticipated for this J. Cole album that drops at midnight in a few hours. As well. So, you saw the fun side of the Chicago Sky too, right? They definitely had their fun moments, but it was all serious talk. And it's all talk about what it means that we have to put in this work to win the championship. And Chris mentioned it earlier, how it came from Courtney Vandersloot, their leader, who said, yeah, I'm all about to talk about the championship, but I want to get better every day. That's the biggest thing that's going to lead to the championship. Because if we do our part, the championship will come. And that was a profound statement coming from their vocal leader, who emphasized numerously in press conferences how that's the name of the game every day. How can we get better? How can we improve? And that's something that the Chicago Sky need, especially now that they brought in Candace Parker to take things to that next level. I think that's going to be very huge for this team moving forward. And the hype is real, but they understand the seriousness behind the hype and what it really means at the end of the day. And they understand what they have to do when the spotlight is on them, especially now that they're going to be on a national spotlight all over the place, not just from the local channels per se, but you talk about the ESPNs, the ABC networks. They're going to be on a lot more national games. So they're prepared. I think they're prepared for the task, but they do understand that this season's a really big season for them.
Definitely. It's good to see though in the face of all that they still have a certain looseness about them, and that they seem to be enjoying what the process of what's going on and having some fun too. And maybe they'll be lighting up the backboards and the rims like J. Cole, and starting with the Washington game and everything. But Chris, let's get back into breaking down this Sky team, man. And it's obvious that people perceive them as a threat in the league and everything. They have the talent, they have a deep roster. From your point of view as a guy who's watched this team year in and year out, you've seen them as a lesser team. What are your thoughts about how this team has evolved, and what they have now? Do you see them truly as a contender, as a championship contender in the league this year? And why would they be? What would be the main reasons for that?
They got so many weapons on the roster. They've got Diamond DeShields, who's fully healthy. Kalia Copper, who's been she broke out last year. Both of those two players I just mentioned are two of the best fast break players in the league, and the Sky love to play fast. They have players like Stephanie Dolson, who can find the first pass on the hit ahead. Their offense is geared around transition, like really making the most out of transition opportunities. And so in the past, they had been weaker in the half court, but now you have Candace Parker, who can operate out of the low post, mid post, high post, and you don't put everything on Courtney Vandersloot. Kind of remember how the Bulls used to run that first pass for Rose to get him going through screens and then set up on like the weak side or the at the elbow. The Sky did that with Courtney Vandersloot a lot, and so one, they can rest her more. Two, that she doesn't have to be the primary creator and playmaker. And it's going to be contagious. As much as players were getting assists with the Sky before, just based on how Sloot kind of made everybody's perception that much more open, I think it's going to be even greater with Candace Parker there. And you heard so many people talking on the call today about how they're going to her and they're trying to learn from the veterans. So you have those four. Allie Quigley's still a dot shooter. Ruthie Hebard was really nice last year. I want to see how she adjusts. It's her sophomore season, and there's going to be more players playing this year that opted out or were hurt last year. But she's great in the pick and roll. She was working on her outside shot in Turkey. And then it's just the coaching staff almost always gets as much out of them as possible, and they preach defense this season. They said that they are really preaching defense because you saw this guy get out a bunch of leads a lot last year, and then every game would be close. They would be up 10 with 5 minutes to go,
Yeah.
and it would end up being a 2-point game. So I still want to wait and see how they get through the first week. DC is always tough. Elena and Tina Charles should be back, even though they'll be missing Alicia Clark. And Maisha Hines-Allen was really, really good last season. So the Mystics are always a tough team, and the Sky have been really snake-bitten in DC. But if you see them win games going away, if you see them holding leads, holding that 8-point advantage as the game dwindles down from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 minute left, that's when you know that they have really embraced that championship contention. They have the pieces for it. So they're definitely a championship contender, but they got to prove it.
Yeah, and the thing about last year, man, like you say, they had those games that they had good starts and bad endings, and the season as a whole was sort of like that because they had that nice start, and that second half was torture, man. It was like the way that they gave up some of those games and the way that they fell back in the standings, like. There was a time where it was like, man, they might could pull something off here in this bubble, but by the end of the season, they just were. There was a lot of injuries and stuff that were involved too, and some players had to get out of the bubble and everything. But it was tough to see the way that they ended that last year. But I guess it was just more growing pains for a team that was learning to win. So and you got to figure that them being able to be at home and have more of a regular regimented schedule in this year, like I say, back to normalcy, in a lot of ways, and maybe that'll do them well, But James, it's interesting, man. You brought up the point, and I think it's sort of if not an elephant in the room, maybe a rhino or something, like. The Sky are sort of led at the core, at its core, they're sort of led by some older players. And you mentioned the element of urgency that may be involved with this team this year, winning now, because you like say your highest profile player now is like a 13-year vet. Candace is, she's in her mid-30s. You got a couple of the players you've relied on for years now in their mid-30s. So it's like, expound on that a little bit, man. What do you, well, I guess in, looking and talking to the team a little bit and maybe observing them, do you think that that's going to be something that they're going to be able to handle, well going forward this season?
To be honest with you, I just think across the board, they just have to manage health more than, it's funny, some of the healthiest players on the team have been the oldest ones. Like Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley consistently are on the floor. The people that the people that I worry about the most are players like Azurá Stevens, who, James Wade said that he wants to manage her a little bit more this season. And, the Sky did start off 5-2 last year. They were scoring the most points in the WNBA through that 7-game period. But then the wheels came off because Azurá Stevens was dealing with a cartilage issue. Diamond DeShields from the onset was coming off the bench and was dealing with lower body issues as well. So, the age on the roster has less to do with my concerns about the age and more to do with about their championship hopes than it is about them and their health concerns. These players are trained to play basketball 11 and a half months out of the year. But I want to go back to a point too that you just mentioned about their developing habits about with winning. One of the most frustrating things about the NBA to me is that there are certain teams and franchises and front offices that think that winning is just an on and off switch that you can just flip and that you can develop healthy habits competing, and that everything, if you get the three superstars, like the mega stars, that you'll just be able to start winning right away. And one of the things that I like about the Sky and their situation right now is the culture that they've built, and that James Wade took a team that was pretty much built pretty much the same way, maybe just outside of like Jontel Lavender in 2019 coming from the 2018 season. They had virtually the same roster, but that they were building these habits of like pushing teams that they shouldn't have been, pushed to the brink. And then you see them go on the playoff run where Diamond DeShields turns into the superstar that we think that she's going to become. And even last year, like again, you see them pushing teams like the Seattle Storm, who looked unstoppable for most of last year. Right, they built a lot of healthy habits, and now they're bringing in Candace Parker, who is larger than life. I mean, she's a celebrity, and she has a presence about her where when you go into battle, you can trust that person, and she brings a calming presence. So I think when you add all of that up, it's looking pretty good for the Sky, and it's just going to be about health and keeping Azurá Stevens healthy, making sure that maybe Diamond DeShields isn't necessarily overextended, and just, I hate to say this because it's so used over and over again, but trusting the process and making sure that you're instead of peaking at game 7, that you're peaking at game 32 as you head into the playoffs.
Definitely. Okay. We're gonna get into where the Sky sort of fit and it within the league as a whole in a minute. But anything else in regards to the roster that you think may be a pleasant surprise, or any player who may make a leap forward this year who we should take a look at, who in the place of anyone who's maybe has contributed before, maybe someone else will step up this year or something like that. Or, could we see Vandersloot make another run at MVP or something like that this year? What do you think those type of things will emerge from the team this year?
I have my thoughts, but do you guys want to take that one? Because I just went on that long rant before this.
I'll get mine out real quick. We talked about it last week, and I might have brought it up last week on the Runnin show. With Candace coming in, I think Courtney's going to have fewer assists because she won't need to have 9 or 10 or 12 assists a night. That can be spread around. I think the beneficiary of that is going to be Diamond, because the Sky they're not going to stop being that breakaway team, and a healthy Diamond DeShields bearing down on you. Ooh, boy, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. People don't jump over somebody. She will jump over somebody, and at some point in time, Diamond might dunk on somebody, and the roof is going to come off the Wintrust Arena, dude. They're going to have to get a new roof for the spot.
She dunked on me, Chris.
Shell that money. Oh, that's true. But that was the internet, though. That's different.
Fair enough.
How did she dunk on you?
you gotta go into it.
Oh man. Well, it was so harmless. It was honestly, she was such a it was a pretty funny thing. So someone tweeted out after Candace Parker was after it was reported that she was going to be coming to the Sky, someone tweeted out the roster of – actually, no, I tweeted out the roster of, like, what the Sky was going to look up. Like, I listed off, like, the Sky have Courtney Vandersloot, Allie Quigley, Diamond DeShields, Candace Parker, Stephanie Dolson, Kalia Copper, Azurá Stevens. You go down the line. And I said something like, now that, folks, is lethal. And someone commented underneath, like, that's a EuroLeague team right there. And I said, yeah, like, I know this could change – heading into the season, but if Diamond DeShields is your 4th best player, that's a luxury that not many teams have. And it was more, I was really just complimenting the depth, and honestly didn't give too much of a thought about doing a power rankings of the Sky's players on its roster. Well, I think Diamond must have been, she probably was like searching her name on Twitter, and she saw that I tweeted that, and she quote tweeted just being like, "Shut the hell up," pretty much, and seriously, like, she was like, I quote tweeted that just being like, I should have phrased this differently. All I meant was that this team has a lot of depth. And she actually like shouted out me and Chris for the podcast that we do. And, with these players, you never know like who's actually listening. Chris, I think I mentioned this to you before, but I noticed that we were, in the first couple of years we were doing the podcast, we had no listens from Florida, not a single one. I went back and checked this. And when the WNBA announced that they were going to Bradenton to have the season in the bubble, after they arrived there, our numbers for Florida just dramatically went up, and I thought it was pretty comical. Again, who knows if they actually are listening to the podcast or not, but for Diamond to kind of shout us out and saying that she appreciates the work that we do, I mean, that meant everything. And she didn't have to do that. She could have just let me be a fool on the internet for kind of mindlessly tweeting something that I don't necessarily think was a bad take by any means, but it just wasn't something I thought. I've kind of viewed it as like I'm complimenting this guy's depth more than I'm like slandering Diamond to Shields. But I will say this, coming off of that, I think that we're about to see a really special season from Diamond. I mean, she had 5 steals against the Indiana Fever in the second preseason game, and it all happened within the first half. So, she's going to be a hawk on the defensive end. I think she's a dark horse player for winning Defensive Player of the Year. We haven't really heard a ton of buzz about her, but I think she's going to remind us the player who she was in 2019. I'm writing an article for Winsider right now, and I was looking it up on Across the Timelines database, and there's only been 10 players in WNBA history who have averaged 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists in the entirety of a playoff series, and she's one of them. She did it, that being her second or third year in the league. I mean, second year in the league. I just think we're about to see something special, and that last year is more of an anomaly than it is than it is like an indicator of what Diamond DeShields is going to do in her WNBA career.
I guess you deserve that, James. And I can't wait to see. She probably get that All-Star, get Defensive Player of the Year, maybe even MVP one day. She gonna be like, "See, James, I told you."
Honestly, I'd be the happiest person in the world if she ends up doing that, because one of the and I mean, you guys were on the call. One of the things that stood out to me that I had no idea about when she brought it up was that Annie Constable of the Chicago Sun-Times, please follow her if you are listening to this right now. She's doing some incredible work. One of the things that she asked Diamond was, do you have any games circled on the calendar? Mm-hmm. And Diamond responded with, something along the lines of like, last year in the bubble, some people were kicking me while I was down. So I definitely took note of that and stay tuned. Ooh, I don't want to be on the other end of that.
Yeah, man.
No, thank you. So I think we're about to see something special from Diamond DeShields this season, and I think she can be an MVP someday. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
There was a moment 2 years ago when the Sky played the Mystics at home, and that was the first time that they beat them since the Elena Delle Donne trade. And that was I think their 9th game against Washington.
Yeah.
And at the end of the first half, Josh, I remember you were there for this. I think I know I asked her about it in the presser after the game. I cannot remember who on DC had the ball, but Diamond stepped out to beyond the hash mark, between the hash mark and half court to guard her, and you could just see it. The way you see switches flip on players, she was either going to get a steal or this was going to be a lockdown moment, because there were only a few seconds left in half. It was like they were not going to get into their offense. And I believe it might have been in a different part of the game, because I think she forced a 24-second violation. There were a few seconds left on the shot clock. The ball had gotten batted out, and she just put octopus lockdown on whomever it was. And I asked her about that after the game. She's like, I saw that. It was like, I'm like a shark. I smell blood in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I went for it. So it's funny. We have this player who can score so well, and I believe that her calling card in her head is her defense, is her ability to defend. And so, like I said, she's healthy this year. And Kyle, you You said it kind of like jokingly, but it's on the money, man. People have been waiting for her to be an MVP candidate for 3 years. Maggie Hendricks said it when we were at games 2 years ago. She's like, she's a superstar, and I was like, Maggie, not yet, not yet. Because it wasn't. It's like Phil Jackson said in that moment. It's like, don't go away from Michael here. It's not time yet. It wasn't time yet, and now it's time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And when she mentioned in the press conference about how, she wants to pride on defense. She prides her skill set, her game off defense. She realized that pretty early on, her best offensive nights, her best scoring comes from her defensive play. And for her to recognize that, especially as a scorer that can score so effortlessly in this league, you want to talk about that type of combination with the Candace Parker offensively and potentially defensively in a pick and roll situation, a lot combined with the fact that you're going to have a Kalia Cooper on the other wing who's tenacious already defensively. And they both mentioned how Coach Wade has emphasized that they will have a bigger responsibility defensively now, because that's going to be their bread and butter. You guys mentioned about the transition game and how they like to run offensively. That's their best offense. It comes from the defensive end. And you have two wing players now who we already know defensively are already tenacious, but if they really live up to that potential times 2, 10, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be off the charts. And you're going to see higher numbers from Diamond DeShields. She talked about how she also worked on her offensive game with James Clark over the offseason, and how working on some of those skill sets transferred over into the training camp. If those things work out the way that it's supposed to, and we really see Diamond DeShields take that extra leap, I think at this point the sky really is the limit, because Diamond DeShields is going to only take them as far as they can go. And having Candace Parker is immensely going to help that process. But this is pretty much Diamond DeShields' moment. This is pretty much Diamond DeShields' time to really take the rankings of this team and make it her own. And hopefully that we'll be able to see that this season.
Yeah, the other thing that you got to consider too is, there's a lot of talk about Candace and Diamond, understandably so. They're both, again, all-world players, but one of the things that we should be looking out for this season is Kalia Copper taking that next step as well. Honestly, I think there's a good chance that she's going to be closing most of those games for the team. I love Allie Quigley. What she's able to do on the perimeter is something that, she's shot over 40% from deep until last year. I think from 2017 to 2019, she shot over 40% from three in all those seasons. But on the defensive end, what Kalia Copper is bringing to training camp is something that we've heard consistently about, how that no one can stop Kalia. James Wade actually did something like you see from a lot of coaches. Well, they'll step in and they'll be like, you know what? If none of you can guard Kalia, then I guess I'm going to have to try to. It's something that she can't be stopped on the offensive end, but she's also really bringing it on defense. And I think it's going to be really. She averaged almost 15 points per game last season. It's something that we have to monitor going into the season, whether three-time All-Star Allie Quigley is going to be taking more of a reserve role. Just because of how much talent is on that roster. It has nothing to do with Allie Quigley not being an amazing basketball player. She plays on one of the greatest basketball teams in the world, but outside of the Sky. But it's just something to monitor moving forward, because Kalia is also in a contract year. She's someone that's probably going to demand close to the max, if not the max. So I think that's one of the most intriguing storylines heading into this season, is to see who is going to be the one closing games for the team. And my bet would be Kalia Copper.
James, expand out from Kalia. Who do you think is going to fill out the rest of that lineup during those tough games and those clutch moments? Well, who's going to be the depth lineup, as you will, if you will, for the Sky?
Oh yeah, to me it's Courtney Vandersloot at the 1, Kalia Copper at the 2, Diamond DeShields at the 3, Ezra Stevens at the 4, and Candace Parker at the 5. The defensive versatility that team is going to have. When you think about Candace Parker and Ezra together clogging up the paint, they both were in the top 6 in block percentage last year. And I mean, when you have both of those players, I mean, Azare only played 13 games last year, so you're really just adding Azare and Candace to this team, and adding Diamond Shields, who's already someone that we've talked about how amazing she is on the defensive end, and Courtney Vandersloot is someone who's also improved on that end of the floor throughout her career. So that is going to be a nasty team on both ends of the floor, and but one thing we got to iterate as well is that James Wade is not someone who is set on one lineup. If you are struggling, if you go 0 for 4 in a 90-second stretch, you will be pulled. It doesn't matter if you're maybe Courtney Vandersloot's maybe the only exception just because of how dramatic the numbers are when she's off the floor. But no, I mean, you could be honestly, if he pulled Candace Parker at one point this season just to send a message, it would not surprise me. That's the kind of coach he is, but that's also why he's so fun to play for. You know that you can be ready every game. You know that even if you played 4 seconds, that you have a chance of getting in the lineup if he thinks that he can find a mismatch somewhere in the middle of the game. So, sorry, that was such a long answer, but I do think that those 5 are going to be the.
That's good, man.
That's definitely in my mind the closing lineup at least.
And Candace, I'm thinking about that sort of situation now. I'm sure Candace might have some ego about it, but she'd probably understand as well as anyone on the court why she'd be pulled in a situation like that if it came to that, But,
yeah, I mean, Pat Summitt did it to her before. She I forget it. I think that it was Candace Parker's second year at UConn when she was they were traveling to DePaul, so her homecoming, just to bring that narrative back up. She missed curfew and she was benched in the first half of the game versus DePaul, and the whole stadium was pissed off because they had bought tickets to see Candace Parker play basketball. So it's kind of crazy. Like, I think she does understand it. She's having been coached under Pat Summitt, that I think she understands it. I don't think that she's going to get pulled anytime soon just because, again, she's a professional. She's a 35-year-old vet who has done it all in this league. So she knows what she's doing. So I'm not saying that Candace Parker is getting pulled anytime soon, just making sure people understand that,
Sure. And there's few coaches who are going to coach you harder than Pat Summitt too. So she's been through it. She's been through some things, I'm sure, with coaches.
Oh yeah.
But let's go right quick. Get to some league-wide talk. And Chris shared with our running text chain earlier a great source if you want to learn more about the league and who's going to be worth following and stuff at least at the beginning of the year. There's a GM survey that's available on WNBA.com. And looking at it here, you start off. I want to start off with those different sections and the responses, questions and responses from the GMs of the WNBA. Starting off with the off-season questions. Which one player acquisition will make the biggest impact? 58% of the GMs said Candace Parker. As the biggest impact. There's also Natasha Howard of the Liberty and Chelsea Gray of the Las Vegas Aces. Which team will be most improved? They said the Liberty. 42% of the GM said the Liberty, and actually the Sky didn't make the top 4 in that group. But the Sky have got a lot of love in the survey from like I say, more with Candace Parker being the most surprising move. 42% of the GM said that's the case. But going to season predictions, the Sky is tied for number 2 in the under the question, which team will win the 2021 WNBA Finals, with 17% of the GM saying that they will win it, tied with the Washington Mystics. Number 1 though is the Las Vegas Aces. We're gonna talk about the other favorites in the league in a minute, but the Sky, as far as Eastern Conference teams who have the most regular season wins, 75% of the GMs say it will be the Sky, and there's a lot of I put the link up in our chat, but a lot of no, in our comments, I should say, but a lot of interesting questions there. Sleeper rookie most likely to be a success. A lot is a number of those, but Shyla Neal is among those group. That group, 17%. Got split there with several others saying that she'll have a chance to make an impact. Let me look at a couple more questions. Best point guard in the WNBA, Courtney Vandersloot, 58.3%. And best 2-3 swing player, Diamond DeShields, number one in that question, 45.4%. Best fadeaway shot, Candace Parker, 27.3%. So, a lot people respect the Sky, and best pure shooter, Allie Quigley, 41%. A lot of people respect the Sky and a lot of their components. And for you guys, we also talked. I remember we talked about a power rankings list from ESPN last week, and they had the Sky, I believe, at number 3 behind the Aces and the Storm, the defending champions of the league. So, let's just talk about the league as a whole, and what were you guys expecting to see the teams that are going to be most in contention, and what stars are going to be powering the league this year? We're going to have quite a few players coming back into the league who didn't play last year. They opted out because they didn't want to play in the bubble, or the COVID worries overall. What do you think about like I say, the major storylines, the major players? What should we be looking for starting this weekend?
It's going to be different. Last year was an aberration in so many ways because players like Ariel Powers opted out. Elena Deladon and Tina Charles were medically exempt from the season. You have players leave the bubble early, like Brittany Griner, or players who just got injured in the midst of the season. So it was a really, really uneven. It was a really uneven season for so many different reasons. Not only the players who weren't there, but because of the things externally that just, I know, stole focus from the players just being able to play the game. So it's going to be just different, which is an understatement, but it's kind of a Randy Savage thing where the cream is going to rise to the top. But at the same time, I wish I could do that. I don't have the sleight of hand to be able to do what he did. But at the same time, that most improved teams list is not far off at all. The Liberty were without Sabrina Ionescu, who was so good in her second game. In her second pro game, she was efficient. She was shooting. She was creating. And the Liberty, even though they finished 2-20, and they were still a decent team to watch most nights.
Yeah.
There's a few players that they lost, but they gained Natasha Howard. They lost Kia Nurse, which I think is a definite loss for them. She's a great player. But just having Sabrina, just having Natasha Howard there, and we talked with Miles Ehrlich about what they're really looking for. Walt Hopkins is a player's coach, not unlike James Wade. And he's still it's going to be his second season. He's trying to find his way a bit, but they seem to have bought in. So they're going to be a fun team to watch and not going to be an easy out. Atlanta is going to be a fucking fun team to watch with Harry McDonald and Kennedy Carter and Cheyenne. Y'all know I'm a Cheyenne Parker stan, so I think she's gonna really blossom. I believe I think she's gonna start. Cheyenne's a great interview, and she's a hustler, man. She's not gonna back down from anybody.
Perfect.
And
for
not
that
only
team.
is that gonna, yeah, exactly. It's gonna play well on that team. It's gonna play well in that city. So Atlanta, even though Nikki Collins just left right before the season, they're running on an interim head coach. Atlanta's going to be a fucking fun team to watch.
Yeah. Chris, right quick, what do you think about Atlanta as a benchmark outside the league, given the whole thing with the owner and everything that happened over the off season?
I don't know that could have happened anywhere else. That's I think telling. I don't know that what happened with Renee Montgomery being what, James? 2 years removed from playing? 1 year?
I thought it was only 1 year, if I'm not
I think it's
mistaken.
1 year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Josh. 1 year, to have a player be 1 year removed from playing professionally and then become a part owner of the team that she played for. I don't know any other league that could have happened in, either for collective bargaining restrictions or just implicit bias against it. So for that to happen, for that team, for the league to lead the charge that they did in Georgia and make Georgia it's just under such a microscope now. There's going to be, like, Atlanta is underrated in terms of their sports fandom, I think, because they've got such an unfortunate history of losing or just not being relevant. But Atlanta United captured the city's focus in MLS, and the Atlanta Dream have the chance to do that this season. If that team breaks out, you won't be able to. Atlanta's gonna be going wild, man. Y'all know Atlanta, man. It's gonna be foolish.
Guys, gonna be more than the wings at the Magic City.
I'll go to the WNBA game. I'll go to NBA game. I'll go to any of those games. You know, I support everything. But you have the Magic City Wings with the Lou Williams special at the game. I will invest that much more. I would invest that much more to enjoy my overall experience. The ambiance will be much better with the Lou Williams lemon pepper wings. That's all I'm saying. So Atlanta, if you're hearing me, Atlanta Dream, just put the special in the concession stands. I'm booked that flight. Check y'all out for sure.
That's some good marketing. Man.
Oh my God, I'm dead.
I like that.
Money all over the place. Money all over the place. You have it at the club, you have it at your game. All types of entertainment.
But James, do you think, whether they incorporate the wings or not, do you think that Atlanta or anyone else could be, in regards to like you said, the GM seem to think that the Sky are going to be the best team in the regular season in the East. It doesn't mean so much in the playoffs, but they think that the Sky are going to be the best team in the East. Do you think anyone else in the East, probably the Mystics, I would guess, but anyone else beyond that could be a competitive team, for the Sky?
In the East, I'm just going to pull it up now just because I've been doing this since 6 o'clock and I just want to make sure I'm not missing this. So, okay. The Connecticut Sun, I know they're missing Alyssa Thomas, but when you get Jonquel Jones back, and I actually think that she's the one I would pick to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think she's the only real threat. I mean, not she. The Connecticut is the real threat to challenge the Sky, but at the same time, I just have a really hard time seeing it. I mean, the Indiana Fever are going to be the worst team in the league this year if the Dallas Wings aren't. The contracts they signed with Chantel Lavender, who I love, I have a soft spot for her, but her and Danielle Robinson, it doesn't make any sense why they gave the contracts that they gave to those two veterans. So they're going to be at the bottom. They're not letting their young players in Lauren Cox and Tierra McCowan really grow. So I think that's going to be an unfortunate situation. The Mystics, Elena Deladon hasn't played basketball in the WNBA in over a year. I'm not too worried about her, though. I think that she'll be fine. But is it going to be enough to elevate them past what the Sky can do? I have a really hard time imagining that. But I will say the New York Liberty have a higher ceiling than – I think they have a higher ceiling than the Fever or the Dream. I mean, what they did in getting Natasha Howard this offseason and what she's going to be able to do on the defensive end for that team and provide a little bit of an offensive spark to that team, I think it's going to be interesting to see. And her and Sabrina Ionescu being together, I think is just it's an absolute dream for them. Yeah. So I do agree with Chris, though. I mean, I think that Atlanta is going to be a fun team this year. Like, if your team is going to suck, you might as well be fun. And when you have Kennedy Carter, Courtney Williams, Ari McDonald, Cheyenne Parker, just to name a few. I mean, that's a team that you can get behind. So, yeah. And also just a quick prediction, watch out for Ari McDonald for 6th Woman of the Year. I think it's on the table with, if you see, I mean, unless Derek Ahamby just wins it again, that would just be so boring. Oh, come on, man. I just can't.
I know, but if she's good, she's good, Ask Josh and Kyle about how we feel about Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
We can't come up my guy.
She's
my guy, man.
Yeah.
So she's comparable to Jamal in that one. Okay.
It's just the ability of the things that she can do. She's a two-way player. She can shoot from outside. She just does everything well. She sets screens. She defends. She gets rebounds. She's somebody that can come in and just alter a game trajectory in a number of different ways. So it's different than Jay Crossover because he's just a bona fide shooter. De'Erica's a well-rounded ball player who can do a lot of things very well. She could start on a number of teams.
100%.
You mentioned someone who can impact the game deeply and do it quickly in a lot of ways. And I want to go back to Ionescu. Like, when she came out at the beginning of the last year, like, it was a big deal. Like, I think that was the first game that was broadcast last year, I believe, with her or at least her first game was broadcast. I know that. But she had the injury, and like I said, it derailed her, and it derailed the hype train with her. How do you think she's going to respond coming back this year? And could she really be that next player who really comes along and helps define the league, or at least, being in the New York market and being like, she's been a player who a lot of people have known in basketball circles for a while now, going back to her college day. What impact do you think she can have potentially starting with this year on the league?
The league needs a player like this. They can. I think the league has come under some criticism from only marketing white players, and it totally makes sense. I think Asia Wilson really needs to be marketed more for someone who is just the personality, the way that her game is so relatable. She's just such an incredible human being, and again, she's just not marketed the way that she should. I think it's changing a little bit, but Sabrina, I mean, you talk about someone who's just a winner, who just wants to win, will do anything to do it. I mean, one of the things that I saw last season when she struggles like that first game where she struggled offensively, there's this one play where someone tried to feed a full court pass to someone trailing towards the rim. She just goes she jumps and lays out for a pass in the way that I've seen Marcus Smart do so many times over the years. And like you'll see like role players do that type of play, lay out and like risk their bodies on the line. But when you don't see star players like Sabrina Ionescu is the future of the Liberty. She's someone that this thing isn't going to work unless she's the one dictating the offense. So I think she's just so fun to watch, and she's such an important figure for the league. And she's just a really good player to have. And just watch consistently. I mean, it's just going to be a different team this year with her in it, because that's how much of an impactful player she is.
But Josh, James mentioned Asia Wilson. She's going to be very much high profile because of her role on a team that a lot of people are expecting to win this year, win it all, the Aces. But it's interesting though, because the news came out, I believe it first came out yesterday or this week, about Breanna Stewart getting her own shoe deal, and her being only the 9th player in the league history to be able to have her own signature shoe.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in response to that, like James said, because of people having certain issues with the way black players have been marketed as opposed to white players in the league, they said like, well, Asia Wilson probably should have her own shoe or is just as worthy, if not more. What do you think about that and that whole issue? And could that be something that we hear more of, in regards to how people look at the league?
No, it's a very
valid most
point.
definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh. Go ahead. My fault, bro.
No, it's all good. See, Breezy, it's all good. You're the expert. I'm just, I'm listening to what you got to say too. But now overall though, man, it's definitely plays a very valuable role in it. When you talk about what, and I think that's one of the biggest things that's it's going to get a lot of criticism, right? It's because Black female athletes don't market as value, or the value of the market is not as entrenched or deeply entrenched when it comes to male athletes, or male professional athletes in specific sports leagues. That's why people like Candace Parker are so prevalent for these type of situations, because of what she does. Even Kalia Cooper in the media day today, and announced that she signed with Adidas. She said, "I'm with the Three Stripes." May not have her own actual shoe, but she did say she's with the Three Stripes, and she'll be wearing other people's shoes. So I think the notoriety is there, but the problem is, my question will push back is what you mentioned, Kyle. If you're gonna have women athletes sign and get endorsement deals with these top tier brands that are representing all the other top athletes that are both predominantly males, especially African American males in specific sports leagues, why can't they get their own respected signature shoe as well? Candace Parker should have her own signature shoe. I believe she does, but they should market that more too. Asia Wilson, I think she actually is with Adidas. I want to say that. Don't quote me for sure on that, but I think she has some type of contract with Adidas where she may not have her own shoe, but she is still rocking their gear. Breonna Stewart's the same way. It's a problem when certain companies go after notoriety and fame with the brand name compared to people that actually deserve that type of recognition. Now, Breonna Stewart's an anomaly because Breonna Stewart is just Breonna Stewart. So, of course, we know she's going to get the notoriety that she has, the success that comes, the winning component that comes with the success that she has. It was bound to happen that someone's going to give her a chance to sign that deal. However, they should give the same opportunities to African-American athletes, female athletes as well. And African-American athletes should be able to look outside of just the main companies that represent these specific brands. I mean, you talk about Adidas and Nike and Jordan and Puma as main figures. They should be able to go outside of the ones and maybe go with the Way of Wade, or maybe go with I think the other one's called Anti, the one from China. That other players like Klay Thompson, those people are after. They should be going after. They should be having those type of deals and opportunities as well. It's unfortunate that is not the case, but yeah, for sure, women, especially African American women that really play a role in dominating this league, should get more notoriety and for their work, and should be more and have the endorsements to back it up.
Chris, you go ahead, man. You want to say something about that issue?
I mean, it's really just how you put it into perspective. That way, I really can't say much more other than what you said. And especially what Josh said, it's kind of entrenched that brands up to this point didn't find women, or weren't looking at women as marketable. Black women, black athletes especially. Like Sabrina had to kick the door down to really start being like put on everything. And then the world still had to change as it has over the last 10 years. And Sabrina was winning titles in 2006, but I don't remember seeing that many Serena commercials. Like the commercials that I can really remember where you saw people like women athletes advertised. The one that really, really comes to mind is that Mike Jordan, Mia Hamm, Everything You Can Do Gatorade ad that they just brought back now with Usain Bolt and Abby Wambach.
Yeah,
that's the one that really sticks in my mind. That's the one, But now you're seeing it more because, like I said, the world is changing, the world is waking up, and now I think it's just kind of like it's like how people have been asking and begging and pleading and crying out for WNBA merch to be available and to be up to date. And now it's available and up to date. The same way with the sponsors are taking note. And even as accounts on YouTube or people try to say that the league isn't profitable, it's not marketable, no one's watching. You know, like Amazon Prime is putting 16 of these games on for streaming. I think it's fantastic. I know some people have said that it makes it more difficult and more confusing, but those games that were on Twitter last year were a lifesaver sometimes because we've only got one big TV in the apartment. So sometimes you got to watch the game on Twitter. Now you can watch the game on Amazon Prime. And in the same way that now these companies are finding that women like Asia Wilson, or if you go outside, Clarissa Shields are marketable. Not just because of how they look, but because people see, it's always this representation. People see somebody who looks like them succeeding, and they want to do what that person does so they can be that person, be like that person. The same way that I saw Jaleel White on TV, and I was like, yo, there's black dudes out here with glasses. I hated getting glasses, and I was like, yo, you got glasses on? Jordy LaForge, you got glasses in space, man? Yo, I'm out here. There's somebody like me on TV, LeVar Burton, Jaleel White, that I can model myself after and kind of build an identity on. And so in the same way, you get an athlete like Asia Wilson, who's a consummate professional, and you put her on these covers, you put her in these ads, and it's going to inspire so many more generations now. The thing about the WNBA is that it's inspired this whole generation that weren't around when the first players started playing in the WNBA. There wasn't this for Pamela McGee or Cynthia Cooper or Tina Thompson. There wasn't really that league. It was college and going overseas, and a few professional leagues that went under pretty quick. And so now you have this established league that's had these players to watch, but just now is becoming more. It's becoming marketed more thoroughly. And so when you have these signature shoes now that are like, you're going to see the same. I would estimate that you're going to see the same kind of rush drops, especially with how sneakers are becoming even more like, people are more thirsty for sneakers than they ever have been in my lifetime. And when they start dropping some nice sneakers for Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina, people are going to be fiending, and that just increases league profile. Everything is just going to exponentially increase.
And we've seen it already with apparel, and a lot of people, male and female, are rocking the orange WNBA hoodie now. With the logo. Yeah,
I know. I got to get mine too.
I ordered mine on April 19th, and it's not going to come till June. That's also the problem with this is like the representation. Like I'm so happy with the league's growth, but the thing that they really need to nail down are these little things like, all right, shipping. You got to be thinking about like how you're going to be getting the actual merchandise to the people, and
not used to the demand.
Yeah, but the thing is, like Kaiser Gondrzek's Indiana Fever Rebel Edition jersey, I think sold out within 30 minutes. And so like when you see, like, you're right, the demand's there, but they also got to think about, is the manufacturer are they having too modest of expectations for what these jerseys will perform in terms of them selling? That's the part what I think about a lot is Nike and Dick's doing enough in terms of manufacturing these jerseys? Because you're seeing across the board, all this merchandise is getting sold out. It's been taking I've been trying to order a WNBA orange hoodie since February. And again, it wasn't until April 19th until I could actually get one. The demand is there. Just women's sports need to be given an opportunity to thrive. And I think we're starting to see with the WNBA, with the leadership that's been put in place, to hammer out some of these marketing issues that it's had, and it's already paying dividends. I think this is just the beginning. I really do. Yeah. Also, guys, I got to hop off pretty soon. I got to finish up an article for winsider.com. Shameless plug.
James, big time in this, man. You see it?
No. Even a little bit. Seriously, I really appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime you want to talk Chicago Sky or the Bulls, just dwell in our Chicago sports gloom. I'm always down, But really, guys,
we'll be glad to have you on again. We'll definitely have you on again throughout the course of the summer and the season. So yeah, we love talking to you, man. if you got to go down, we'll let you go. We'll finish up pretty soon with the guys, and Chris will plug the podcast and everything, of course. So.
Awesome. And hey, I also got to give a shout out to Chris. Seriously, I can't ask for a better co-host for the Skyhook. He's I wouldn't want to do with anybody else. And in case he doesn't talk about it, read his work at the Next. Seriously, Chris, just appreciate all that you do. And we'll be hopping on the pod probably early next week. So, early turnaround.
I want to say that's cap, but it's not. I appreciate everything James has done. Bringing me, I think I guessed it on, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do this full time?" I was like, "Sure." I was like, "Yeah, I want to do this." So it's been fun 2 years, and I mean, imagine in October when we're on the podcast and we do our live show with our little tiny bottles of Andre celebrating that Chicago Sky championship.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if I can afford Andre, man. That's where I'm at financially. But
it's a small one. It's a small one from.
You're right, baby size. Make sure we'll keep it there. But really, guys, thank you so much. And Josh, really good to see you again. Kyle, good to see you as well, man. Love what you guys do. So really appreciate it.
Definitely appreciate you, James.
You too, James, for real. Hope to see you around during the season, man.
Absolutely. I'll see you guys around.
All right, man.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too.
But I was gonna James K right there. Definitely follow him on Twitter and everything. Follow him. Follow the Skyhook Pod. But I was gonna say, Chris, right quick. You say you followed Urkel's lead with the glasses. Are you gonna be a stoner now too? Now you got the purple Urkel.
Oh, with the purple Urkel. I mean, it's more mainstream, man. But you can't. Let me lay back from any discussion on that. You
don't got to put your business out there.
Get high on life, folks. Just go run and get your endorphins the natural way. Oh man, you put me in the box, bro. Come on, man.
But
he put me on the menace to society.
No, well, I'm just messing with you, man. But let's go right quick back to those jerseys, though, because those jerseys have gotten a lot of, a lot of hype, a lot of media attention. Like that's another way, again, that the league is sort of you're seeing the growth and you're seeing, more, more of that insertion into the regular, media cycle. With it, outside of just the season itself and the little time that the highlights get or whatever still on the highlight shows and whatever. It seems like it's going to be more there's going to get more time on TV than ever this year. The league will, with the games themselves. You mentioned the deal with Amazon that was announced, and the whole the Commissioner's Cup that's going to be happening as well.
Yeah.
So, adding some more stuff to the season, sort of experimenting, much like the league, the NBA has done with the playing games and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that sort of thing adds to the attention of the league and the excitement, the buzz or whatever, if you want to use any marketing term or anything. But as we get toward the end of this conversation, this is the 25th year of the league, and it's had a lot of ups and downs. People have bad-mouthed it, people who have, shown a lack of understanding at times, and, an unwillingness to even meet the league halfway, even before it got to such perilous or divisive areas as politics, Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. Even when it was just a league about promoting women's basketball, it was sort of been controversial because there's a lot of meatheads out there who just don't respect women's sports. But now it's sort of growing into the society is sort of catching up with it a bit now. And, hopefully more people with each year, more people are getting into the league and getting into it earnestly, not just doing it to make a statement about themselves. Really getting into the hooping and everything, and appreciating it on much the same level that you appreciate any other sport. So, with this being that 25th year, of course, there's going to be a lot of attention given to that number, a big round number and everything. But Chris, what do you see? What does that 25th year mean to you as that the league has survived this long, and that is seemingly on the verge of more breakthroughs and everything? What does this whole benchmark mean for you as a WNBA fan and media follower?
It's funny. I came late, right? There's people who have been out here since day one. I was real late. I remember watching when the league came out because it was on TV and it was sports.
Yeah.
But I got swallowed up in the toxic, in the toxic shit in high school and college, and a little bit in college. I started coming back once we had to play. We played in the band at women's games at Bradley, and I really started to appreciate the basketball as I should have before. But what 25 years means is it's a benchmark that the league has staying power. The same thing happened with the NBA back in the day, because that league started, and you didn't know people didn't know if it was going to make it. It didn't know how long they were going to make it, and they were doing a lot of things that aren't done now just to survive, with like territorial draft picks, so that teams would have a reason for fans to come watch. Because back then in the 40s and 50s and 60s, college basketball was the big draw over pros. That Abdul-Jabbar, Elvin Hayes, UCLA Houston game was in the Astrodome, and they had like 60,000 people there to watch a basketball game. This is way before they were playing the NCAA final in like the RCA and Lucas Oil and all that. So this 25 years means that the league has had staying power, and with Kathy Engelbert as commissioner, it's hard to say what she means to the league. One, because she's still only had the job for a little over a year, and so you really want to judge her off of a continued performance over a longer time period. But what she's done and how she's gotten out front of things and allowed players to say and do things that even in the NBA, Adam Silver and the league might clamp down on, as well as really embrace and spur this wider publicity for the league, is not only it's incredible. I think it's incredible. The league really hasn't been this big since it was on NBC, and that was the late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm.
And so now it's coming back in a force, and in a different time period, because now we're in the streaming era rather than the network TV, and that's where you go. It's hard to quantify, honestly, but you got I think the biggest testament is what I said earlier. You got players like Ruthie, like Diamond, like Sabrina, Asia, and then the rookies who are coming in this year: Charlie Collier in Dallas, DeJohnna Carrington that went to Connecticut, even the European players, the foreign players, Awat Queer, who's going to be in Dallas with Charlie. They grew up watching Candace Parker and Sue Bird and Diana and Rebecca Lobo and Lisa Leslie and Lauren Jackson. They grew up watching that with that as the goal, while those players didn't necessarily know that was going to be out there for them when they started playing. So, like, imagine if this generation of players that we're watching now, who are lighting it up, Dame and like Kobe White. Imagine if they didn't have the NBA, or the NBA was just like fresh. If the NBA started in like 1979 or something, it would be entirely different. And so having this league be around for 25 years in a place that didn't necessarily always want it is a testament to the league's staying power, and a testament to their continued expansion's on the horizon. It's really coming soon.
That's what's up. It's good to see. And, you know, you think of the expansion of the league from those early days when, like you said, Chris, the league was first on NBC. There was a lot of attention given to the league coming out of the '96 Olympics. A lot of the stars from that team that won gold in Atlanta they were essentially the stars of the league early on. And you had something like the Houston dynasty early on that won, I think, 4 straight. And that was something that really made the league stand out, that they had something to go along the lines of what was seen in the NBA at the time, be it Mike and the Bulls or the Lakers. You had a team that was dominating the league in a similar way in those Houston Comets, I should say. And things, like I say, there's more ebbs and flows that have occurred throughout the years. The league switches over to ABC. Some changes happen, much like with the NBA, when it switched over to ESPN and ABC. And, some years you barely saw any games. Other years you may have had some stars that stepped out and for whatever reason made themselves known and stuff. I think, in Chicago, us getting a team made a difference, definitely, I would say personally. And I know, being able to see the team compete like it did, I believe in 14, I believe, when they went to the finals.
Yeah.
I remember, writing about that team a couple times for We Are Real Radio and following, having a player like Della Don in Chicago, who you could arguably say was the best player in the world at that time. It was meaningful. And, for me, that's where the league sort of stuck. And, being able to go from there to have the team be seen regularly on local TV, at least, if not national TV on WCIU, it's been cool to be able to sit back in the summer and see games at times on a Sunday or whatever, in the afternoon or early evening. It's, just chill and watch some basketball. And, that's sort of helped me connect with the Sky as a team and with the league as a whole. And, definitely, like I said, other things too, just seeing the players stand up for social issues and get engaged in activities that I admire as a person, at that base level, has been meaningful as well. But, Josh, before we go, you want to speak a little bit about your personal narrative with the league, and what do you remember about the league throughout the years, and what has made you sort of keep interest in the WNBA?
My first WNBA game that I actually attended when I was younger, it was actually Candace Parker's rookie year. It was like her first homecoming game. She played the Sky, and at that time, the Sky was playing at the UIC Pavilion. It was called the Pavilion at the time. And I remember going to that game, and I've watched WNBA over time. I knew about the history of the Houston Comets and the legendary teams like the Detroit Shock, and those different teams of how they became championship franchises. So I was aware of the WNBA. But going to watch the game itself and watching Candace Parker, who was already, like, for me, a connection, because that's the 6'3", baby. I love my 6'3" native, so I got to, show up with the 6'3". To have her watch that game, and see her play with Lisa Leslie on that Sparks team against a Candace Dupree on the Chicago Sky, and then going back and forth was like the beginning of like the future when it comes to me continuing to support the NBA. And then you go from that game, which we're talking, Candace Parker's 13 years in the league now. That was 13 years ago. Now you're talking about 2018, 2019, where Chris and I are watching these games front row and center while we're covering the games. The same excitement I had going to that first WNBA game, it's the same excitement I had sitting down courtside with other colleagues watching the same game. With the WNBA basketball for me has just always been exciting. If you're a basketball fan, you should be able to watch the WNBA in excitement because they are very talented as well. And they're very and the way they market themselves even on the court is actually almost more fundamental than we normally would see in the NBA. Which, if you're a true basketball fan and dissects the game from an analytical perspective, is that much more inspiring to watch. And they don't get enough credit where it's due. And to see that talent up front, of course, there's no reason why you shouldn't want to be a fan of this league in general, especially how it has revised its narrative from not just the talent-wise in the WNBA, but also the community side of things and the social justice components of it, and women really taking their platforms to another level. And not just that, but also professional players in other leagues, especially the NBA, supporting them. Like, I think that's where you kind of got to say, thank God for the pandemic a little bit, because if it wasn't for the pandemic, many could argue that the WNBA may not have had the platforms or utilized the platforms that they had to create the impact and change that they want to see, and people might not have paid attention to it. I mean, I feel like we would have, because that's our niche. It's part of what makes Real Regal Radio so special. However, but comparing to other networks and even other athletes, they may not have put the same attention to paying attention to those narratives and paying attention to those movements that were taking place, and professional athletes actually backing them up and supporting them in those roles. I think that pandemic really played a role in how you could really excel the notoriety of the WNBA and the brand of the WNBA. And now it's really taking things to a whole nother level where you're starting to see women athletes getting the same type of notoriety, endorsement deals, ownership opportunities compared to you see in men's professional sports. So for me, the narrative has always been fun. The problem was no one wanted to actually take the time to listen to it. No one actually wanted to take the time to read and invest in it. When you invest in the sport, you definitely get an investment back. And as someone that has not just watched it in the actual stands, but also on the floor, it's an amazing sight to see. And I'm glad that 25 years has been in the making for them. I'm wishing them the best more moving forward. And I want more expansion of it. I want to bring back the Detroit Shots. I want to bring back the Houston Comets. I want to bring back those teams in those cities that really played a staple in developing the WNBA and what the WNBA is now.
Yeah, that would be nice to see. Like, some teams have been lost throughout the years, and some good basketball cities, and hopefully those teams or some team can be brought back to cities like Houston and Detroit and others, and definitely would be nice to see. And that's a good. Everything you said was really on point there, Josh. And I have to say, like, it's interesting to think about the role that the league playing in that sports-starved time of like midsummer last year when they came back. How it did. I think they had got some of the biggest ratings they ever got with those early games, and that was in large part because there was nothing else on TV barely, and so people, you have to think at that point that maybe some people gave the league a chance who otherwise wouldn't have if regular baseball was going on during that time, or any other sport, was going on. If a regular sports schedule wasn't being engaged with at that time, maybe they'd have spent their time with those sports and not the WNBA. So, there was a silver lining to that hectic time, and hopefully, like I say, they could take more advantage of it here in 2021, even with everything else going about now and things getting a bit more normal, and all the other sports going on around it. They could still make their noise and be, like say, given proper attention to. But I have to say too, Josh, you got one of, if not your most high profile interview at a WNBA game, talking to Kobe White. And that's one thing that I always sort of, when it comes to the fools who talk down on women in basketball and stuff like that, it's to me, it's like, okay, the real players who play the game, NBA players, they're some of the biggest fans of the WNBA. They respect it. Real respect, real. So if they give the ladies the respect, and they give these teams the respect, who are you to not give them respect? When you could barely get off your butt and hoop with anyone, So always keep that in mind. For your guy who, if you want to sit down and say, I want to watch the Sky and the Aces. If your boy next to you say, I want to watch them, say, who are you to talk down anybody when you can barely shoot the ball your damn self, you can't cross nobody over. I've seen, some of these fools out on the court who want to talk bad, but that's what it is, Everybody got an opinion. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up though. It's been a great discussion, guys. Really appreciate talking about the WNBA. And I want to go back to that GM survey right quick. They had a miscellaneous section, and it said at the top of it, using players from the WNBA's first 25 seasons, create your own WNBA Mount Rushmore. And they would allow people to select 2 backcourt players, 2 frontcourt players, and 1 player at any position. That they didn't actually lay out what the Mount Rushmore was that got the most votes, the combination, but they said the players that had the most votes in total. The top player was Lauren Jackson with 10 votes, and behind her was 2. Tied at 2 was Cynthia Cooper and Dinah Taurasi with 8 votes, and with 6 votes each were Sue Bird, Lisa Leslie, and Maya Moore. So, what do you think about those top vote getters? And if you had to add a player to that list, or if you made a Mount Rushmore WNBA player, one player would you definitely have on there?
It's hard to argue against Lauren Jackson. She went head up with Lisa Leslie. I think around the second, she came in when Lisa was at her peak, and so I don't think that she ever I don't think the Storm beat the Sparks while Lisa Leslie was in the league in the playoffs. I might be wrong. Secret Base did a really good video on that beef history, because there was a whole thing at the Olympics where she, she said she pulled her hair out or whatever. But it's hard to argue against Lauren Jackson. She was an absolute fantastic player. And again, this is the time before I was really watching as much as I would have or should have. Honestly, I think just for the grit and the hustle, I'll put Teresa Weatherspoon on there in the backcourt. She had that shot in the finals with the Liberty that was just crazy to extend the series. And then Maya Moore is it's hard for me to really quantify how I feel about Maya Moore as a basketball player, because she's so good. But it like everything now comes up alongside her fight for prison reform.
Yeah,
and it's hard to separate the two, and I don't know if you should, because as a basketball player, she's not the best player in UConn history, just because Breanna Stewart has won so many things. But Maya Moore is an absolute dog, man. And I think she would have to be on there for me. I'd have to. I can't answer this with any finality, Kyle. I got to go back and do more research. So I'm sorry to punt. I'm gonna be that guy.
That's good, man.
I'm gonna be that guy.
That's good. And the thing about Maya is that, like you say, so much of her story going forward is going to get wrapped up in how she left the game and her, her prison reforming campaign. and getting married to a guy who she took up for and fought for, all that, maybe, hopefully Sanaa Lathan will get an Oscar nomination in 10 to 15 years playing. What she may have to do it sooner than that. She's already like 15
it's gonna be a
years
British
old.
actress, man.
Yeah, they're gonna get a young British actress by the end of the dude. Yeah, I think it's too late for Sanaa, unfortunately. But somebody gonna get an Oscar nomination playing Maya Moore in 10 to 15 years, and but her as a playing hooper, like she's bad, man. And I'm gonna let you answer, Josh, because I would say I would, out of that group that I mentioned, I'd probably hold up Cynthia Cooper. Just like say, remembering those Houston teas and how she went at folks. Like she was hardcore, man. You could put on any court with anybody, and she could break people down off the dribble. And like she was just a great scorer and all that, man. I really like watching her play. Sue Bird has always been dope to me, and and Diana Taurasi, man. Taurasi just like I just love her the way that she plays and the way her attitude on the court. Like she's a real floor general, So I just like those type of players because so much of the game is under the rim in the WNBA. I love the players who have that, who is obvious, have that mental capacity into their game and who can really control things around them, distribute the ball, and shoot from distance, mid range, and be able to penetrate with the ball. Do all those things. And there's so many. There's been quite a few players like that throughout the history. But Josh, what would your answer be?
Man, like it's so hard to choose. I mean, I've been blessed and privy to see Maya Moore up front, and during my vacation in Los Angeles, and they played the Sparks in the championship, and seeing Candace Parker and one of the Agulike sisters, I can't remember which one, but you had Elena Beard on that team as well with Kristen Tolliver.
Yeah,
and they was going against Simone Augustus and Sylvia Fowles and Maya Moore. That battle was nasty.
Those were some good games. Yeah, those were good
clash. Length rivalry, man.
Yeah, that was a good game. And Maya Moore stood out. Like she did her thing. And just looking at this list, you talk about Diana Taurasi and Cynthia Cooper and Sue Bird and all those other great ones. If anything, I would add maybe 3 other people, maybe 3. Cheryl Swoops.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would add Cheryl Swoops, Pina Thompson, and Tamika Catchings.
Catch, man. Yeah, you're right.
I would add Tamika Catchings because that was like, she was like the original, like from a height perspective and an athletic perspective based on her skill set. I would view her as like in her prime, like the modern day Simone Augustus before Simone Augustus stepped into the rounds and took that thing to another level. Those are the 3 players that, from an impact the game perspective and really changing the game, I would say have to be added to that list as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's what's up, man. And I think Augustus, I believe, is I think she just retired today or something.
Yeah,
so
she's the Sparks assistant coach now.
Yeah, so salute to her on her career. She was definitely a big time hooper as well. All those that you mentioned, Josh, were. So there's a lot of great players, man, throughout the history. Do the knowledge if you haven't already, and get ready for this new season, man. We're gonna see a lot of great stuff with the WNBA this season. I think from game to game, the Commissioner's Cup, they say, adds a little more spice to the season. They're gonna have that game in the middle, towards the middle of the season, after the Olympics wrap up, actually. But they're gonna, the Olympics gonna stretch out things as well. They're gonna have a break there, and but it's gonna extend into the fall, of course, the early fall, and we're gonna, they say hopefully like like Chris said, we be able to have a little bit of the bubbly and celebrate a Sky championship, another championship brought to the city. It could be the next championship could be the Sky, because it would be before the Sox, even if the Sox do their thing.
Yo.
So yeah, that'd be great to see and great to have happen to the city, because and I think they definitely put in the work to set themselves up, to put themselves in a position. Let's see if they follow through. So
and what would be super cold about that? Those two teams, along with the Red Stars, playing out. I guess the Red Stars kind of count because they're in Bridgeview, but those are the two Chicago teams in Chicago proper, who on the south side of the city, man.
Shout out to the Red Stars. Yeah.
Those will be two South Side championships in the same year, boy.
Definitely. So you just we claiming the South Side priority for the Sky as well, since they play at Wintrust.
It's 22nd Street, man. That's Cermak Road, boy.
Yeah, I gotta just jump into my current that's the school right there, man. The Paul knows what's up. So I gotta y'all coming into my arena. We gotta show love, baby. We gotta show the love to the Blue Demons.
That's a Blue Demons home, definitely. It's a great place to catch a game. It's not a bad seat in the house. Yeah, not a bad seat. So definitely you try to get out there, man. And if it's a good way, it's going, like I say, it's pretty much going to be open in a minute now. Everything will be open. Yeah. You already can attend the games though, as it is. But definitely, I'm gonna definitely try to get out there a couple times, and I advise anybody listening and watching this to do it as well. You might see these guys out there definitely at any number of the games. So just keep up with this team in general, because they're going to be fun. They're going to play well. They're going to represent the city, and like I said, they may bring home a championship. So we'll definitely keep in tune with that. But throughout the season, you'll be able to catch us speaking more about the Sky. Try to speak to more people who cover the league, experts on the league and stuff throughout the year with Runnin with WARR. That's pretty much the plan, man. We coming back every Thursday with more shows, and this coming Thursday we'll be back with a new show talking about. We'll talk about the first weekend of the WNBA season, and definitely talk about the NBA playing games. We'll probably be doing a post-mortem on the Bulls season. But we should have a lot to talk about next week with Drew back on the scene as well. But guys, appreciate it. Great job on this show, man. Definitely did a lot to help me get even more excited about the WNBA season. So I hope we did the same for you as well out there on the internet. So for Chris and Josh, it's your man Kyle Means here. Keep bouncing, keep supporting women's sports, and definitely keep supporting the WNBA.